And I was like, I need to find something that actually brings me joy. And picture books and reading them had brought me joy. And like, maybe I need to actually try this writing thing.
Hello and welcome to another You Make a Derivativerse. I'm Josh Munkin, co-host alongside Brenna Jenneret with support from podcast wizard John Seymour, bringing you a lovely conversation on the eve of Disability Pride Month. Our guest today, I always pretend like you have not read the title and the description of the episode. Our guest today is an absolute delight. She was a pleasure to speak to a few months ago, and we're really happy to share her conversation in the lead up to the release of her first book. I say it that way because, as you'll see, the interesting thing about her journey is that it's not her first deal, but it's her first release. So coming up in September, we will see Jenna Johnson's debut, Everybody Move, coming out, followed by, in 2026, I Spark Like Lightning. Both center disability representation and celebration. Jenna was really just an absolute delight to talk to, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. But first, a word from our sponsor, which is Tealmore Press. We are eternally grateful for Tealmore's ongoing sponsorship of the podcast, and we would encourage you to go and check out everything Tealmore has to offer at tealmorepress.com, Tielmour press.com, where you can see the last several titles like Supermoon, like Naked, like Fungi Are More Than Mushrooms. They have just a real care for putting out a quality book, and everyone is better than last. So, without further ado, please enjoy this conversation that we had with Jenna Johnson.
That song! They did such a good job. Did you know they were going to do that? Is that something you talked about?
Yes. Yeah. So when my editor, Autumn, first reached out to me about doing the book, she was like, how would you feel if we made this into a sing-along book? And I was like, yeah, that would be wonderful. Like,
right.
Who would say no to that?
That was my first thought. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't like fun and sing-alongs and, having kids like dance to my words.
I'll pretend it's for only the listening audience. Tell us what it is we're talking about, the sing-along.
So Barefoot Books, they have a line of books that is also like a sing-along book. So it'll be a picture book, and then it's also a sing-along. So when you get the book, they used to do CDs with the books, but now it's a QR code. And so when you get the book, you can scan the QR code, and it will go to an animation of the book and then a song. It is not my voice. It is hired a professional musician and singer who is singing the book. And it's so good.
That's super cool.
It's so good. And I was like following along, and I was like, oh my God, like, it's incredibly good, but it's only that good because your writing and your rhyming is that good.
Oh,
like, it's
gosh.
very bouncy to like, I was, reading along with it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. The way that you put like the stops or like the like groove, sort of like a standalone, like it makes so much sense to have made it into a song. Like, that's incredible. It's so fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that because I am not a rhymer. Like, I do not write and rhyme. That is not my strong suit. I don't know how I wrote this book
right now. I am like beside myself because it's like, it's perfect. It's like so good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. So so break that down, I guess, a little bit. Like, what stuff do you like to write? And then how did you end up writing this one that is now your debut, right? Like, this is the one you're coming out with, which is like
my debut.
So crazy. Yeah. So how did you get here?
So I write just in prose, like just regular fun. I don't know. Like, I like to write, I guess, humor. Humor is what I'm doing right now. Like, and all my works in progress are just fun, silly humor. And then this book is disability rap, obviously, and that's mostly what I do as well. But this book, when I originally wrote it, like the first drafts of it, it was not in rhyme. It was like about a girl that was getting her first mobility aid, and she was decorating it and was so proud of it. And I wrote that, and I workshopped it a lot in the PB Chat mentorship in 2022.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Who was your mentor? Just to sort of orient.
yeah, Anitra Rose Schulte, which I hope I'm
Okay.
saying her last name right.
I was
I love
gonna say,
her.
wow, that's good pronunciation. Yeah.
We're still really close, so I'm so sorry if I said your last name. And just side note with that, like PB Chat, like I have so much like awe and respect for it. Like I feel like it really like launched my career. Like for
Oh
Justin
wow.
and for Anitra, like thank you for that. Like it was so great.
The hustle that he
Um,
put in for so long to that program
yes.
have
Yeah.
been exhausting, but
Yeah.
I
also,
can't even imagine
yeah.
like everything that he did for that. So I workshopped it in that, and Anitra really helped me. And so after the workshop was, or the mentorship was over, I queried it, and I queried it to Miranda Paul, and she liked it, and but she gave me an R&R, which I was like thrilled to get an R&R from her.
Totally.
Um,
Now, okay, just wait just 1 second. I just want
yeah,
to sort of highlight this a minute. So Miranda Paul, she was with EMLA at that time. Aaron Murphy Lit, they just got
yeah,
absorbed by
yes.
Avitas.
I
I
think I don't
forget
know
how
how
to
to
say
say
it.
it, but yeah.
Anyways, people listening, you understand what I'm saying. So what I wanted to highlight is, so generally EMLA is closed to unsolicited submissions. Although I do think Miranda is usually open. Like she's the only one I think that I've seen listed that will take just submissions not based on referral or like a conference. Is that right?
I think so. Like for some, I think she was open for like specific stories too. Like if you were like a marginalized creator. And
Okay.
so because and especially at that time all of my stories were heavy like disability rep. And so I
Yeah.
sent it to her.
Okay.
I think I
Yeah,
had
I
sent a
go
couple
ahead.
stories to her, and every time I sent a story to her, she's like, "This is so close. Here's an R&R. Keep
Ah.
trying." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And last thing about Miranda, I just wanted to pull that out only because yeah, if people are wondering like, wait, how are you able to submit to her? I just wanted to put that out there. And it may have been,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was a couple of years ago, so maybe it was through PB Chat that, you had an opportunity. I don't know, but previously I have seen that Miranda Paul was the only one open on
Yeah.
their list. So
It wasn't through like I loved PB Chat, and we had like that showcase afterward where like agents and editors can like your stuff. I don't know if I got a single agent or editor that like commented on my
oh
work.
man.
Yeah,
Oh, that's so
showcase.
hard.
It
Yeah.
was so hard, but that's okay
Uh,
because I have an agent which I signed with pretty soon after that mentorship ended. And I love her. I'm so happy. It's Christy McGill with the Cat Agency.
oh, I've
Um,
heard great things about her. And
You
yeah.
just
did you
so
sign with her? Sorry, based on Everybody
yeah.
Moves or a different manuscript?
No, different manuscript.
Oh,
I
crazy.
sent her like three different. She liked my Twitter pitch in like one of those pitch
Oh, okay.
parties.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Another RIP Kidlit
yeah,
resource
Mm.
that is no longer available for us. But just an observation, you you used your interactions with Miranda Paul to get Christy, or like that's what I'm sensing is like she came before Christy and she helped you sort of revise what was so close. Do you think about it that way?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because her R&R for this story, she had read it and she basically told me like, I like this, but it feels like you have two different stories happening here. Because I had a lot of the same lines in that version that I still have in this version. But it was like I had a girl getting her first mobility aid, and then I also had like a celebration of what mobility aids are, and how they help children move. And when she said that, I was like, she's right. Like there's two different things are happening in this story. And so I went back to Anitra and I was like, hey, like I got this feedback. Can you read it? And do you see that? And she's like, yep, that's exactly what's happening in this story. And so Anitra helped me revise it, and my critique partners, like, oh my gosh, I have the best critique partners. They helped me. And like I had to pick a direction. And normally I would have picked the girl getting like the more storyline because I don't write and rhyme. But
Right.
I just was like really drawn to like the celebration of what a mobility aid is and those lines that were already in there.
Yeah.
And so I picked those and just kind of went with the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
And that's how this story came about. I've never written
Wow.
anything else like it.
So it was a complete overhaul then, right? Because what is,
Yeah.
do you remember like the specific lines that were in there that you sort of built the story around? Like I imagine,
Yeah.
was it structured as like a refrain and then you
Yeah.
sort of built around that? Yeah. Okay.
I actually have it open right now because I was like,
Oh,
let me see
cool.
if I still have it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a refrain. Like it starts like she said, yesterday my whole life changed. My doctor gave me something new, my first mobility aid. I was hesitant at first. It didn't feel like me. It had no oomph or flair. Then I had an idea to make it really mine. I sprinkled sparkle here, added pizzazz there. Wham, bam, wow. Now mom says I'm a babe with a mobility aid. That was actually the original title, Babe with a Mobility Aid.
Oh, I love that.
Agents did not, but I loved it.
I mean, with the
Babe is too
pizzazz and
charged
the
a word.
sparkle and
Yeah.
yeah, I guess so. But
Yeah.
I mean, I love what you're going for. Like, it's very obvious, you know, with the lines that follow it. Anyways.
And then like each
Pizzazz was
stanza
right up
kind of
Brenna's alley,
goes.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she kind of goes like, I twirl, glide, romp in spring. I've got places to be, big things to do. Goodbye, no, I can't. That hike's too long. Last place again. Yeah, there are new trails to blaze with my mobility aid. And that line's kind of in the
It is,
new
I was gonna say,
version.
I recognize that one, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just kind of skimming through it now, but she's like, there's like, I whirl, dance, adapt, and soar. So like all these words are kind of in it. I flurry and flash, just try and keep up. I tip, tap, patter, and prance. So like all of those like onomatopoeia words or stuff, like that's all stuff I wanted to keep in the action. And then like the very last lines, or there was one like I capable, lovable, huggable, unbelievable. That changed a little bit, but that was like toward the end of this book, like on the last spread. There's something very similar in that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's like the main vibe of the book that I wanted to keep.
Did you take that other piece of that story and run with it for a different book?
I did. I tried to write like the other version where the girl's getting it, but I just couldn't. I mean, I could try again, but I couldn't quite piece it together in a way that was like
Its own
that
full story.
I really liked it, get the whole story together.
Yeah.
So that's okay though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, bring it back out. The mood will
Yeah.
strike you at some point. So when did you start all of this? All of
Like
this, all
writing
of
in
this
general,
stuff.
Kidlit?
Yeah.
Okay. So I sort of started like in 2018. And I say sort of because, well, okay, I've always liked writing. I've always enjoyed writing and have had the desire to do it, but just like secretly had the desire and didn't say it out loud because, you know, it was scary.
Yeah.
Like my third grade teachers were like, you could be a writer. And I was like, oh, I could be a writer. But that was like in my heart. Like,
Yeah.
and in high school, like, for like Read Across America Day, like some of us were chosen to go to elementary schools and read to students, and I loved that. So like,
Cool.
I remember having that thought in high school, being like, someday I will write a picture book, and it was just like a single picture book someday,
Right.
maybe. But then in 2018, or like maybe right before then, I was teaching elementary school, I was teaching kindergarten, and one of my coworkers is a published picture book author, Joanna Rowland. She's done like Big Bear is Not the Same, Stay Through the Storm,
Okay.
several other ones that I can't think of. And so I was like, okay, she's actually doing this. Like, let me talk to her and figure out like how she's made it in this business. And she told me about SCBWI and the conferences and stuff. So she's like, join this and like go to a regional conference and like just start there. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And that was probably actually 2017 because that's when I was still at the school. And so then in 2018, I signed up for my regional conference. But I didn't tell anybody that I signed up to go to the conference because I was still nervous about it and scared. And so the day of the conference came, and that same day was also like a good family friend. She's like my fake grandma because I don't have family like in California, but it was her like 70th birthday. So I knew like I could only go to like part of the conference and then I'd have to leave and go to her birthday party. But again, I didn't tell anyone I signed up for this conference, and I have epilepsy, so I can't drive. So I would have to ask for a ride to this conference.
So somebody's going to have to know that you're going.
Someone would have to know.
These were the pre-Uber days.
Yes. Well, I guess I could have Ubered, but I don't do that by myself. And so I ended up chickening out, like completely chickening out.
Whole conference.
Whole conference. So like I had paid for it, registered, and then and didn't go. My name tag would have just, I guess, been sitting on that table. Like, didn't go. So then I didn't do anything for a couple of years because I was like, that was embarrassing. And then in 2020-ish, 2021, I was like, okay, I am actually gonna like get serious this time. And I was on like SCBWI's website on, I think it's like their blue boards or like whatever their chat is. And I saw like some people were asking like, okay, like I want to take a class in picture books and children's books. Like, what do you recommend? I was like, okay, I could take a class. Like, that's what I need. I'm a person, like if there's a class, give me a class. And someone had recommended Susanna Hill's Making Picture Book Magic. And that is like online through your email. Like you can join a Facebook group if you want, but you don't have to go anywhere in person or like meet online, like and like face to face, which is perfect for me as a beginner. And I was like, I got this. And I was like, this is my Christmas gift to myself. Like, this is what I want. And so that I did that in January of 2022. And I was like, this is what I'm doing. And so I did that and it was great. And at the end of that class, she told us about like 12 by 12. And so I joined 12 by 12 and I got more involved there. And I joined Twitter when Twitter was still great. And then I found out about the PB Chat mentorship, which I applied for thinking it was a long shot. Like, never thought I would get it. So I got that and worked with Anitra and Justin, and then ended up signing with Christy in November of that year.
Had you been writing all that time? Or had you not given yourself permission to even delve in that much?
No, like I was writing just in 2022, but not in those other years. Like,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
That you were just sort of simmering. It was just like a back burner thing until 2022. And then it all seems to have kind of exploded.
Yes. But I was reading like picture books, so many picture books, like especially as a teacher. But yeah, no, I hadn't actually been writing until 2022.
And you're a bookseller, right?
Yes, I work at my local indie bookstore.
That's so
like
cool.
The best job ever. I love it.
We've only had a couple of booksellers on. Do you want to shout out your bookstore?
Yeah, Ruby's Books in Folsom, California.
Nice.
Oh, very cool.
It is named after the owner's dog, Ruby, who's often in the store.
Yes, is that the yellow lab that I sometimes see?
The yellow lab
Ruby,
that you often see is my dog.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
For the listening audience, Jenna Panter came over so that we could see her dog.
That's Hamilton.
That's Hamilton. Okay. Yeah. now it's like coming together. Yes. And you are taking Hamilton to work sometimes. Is that right? Do I ever see him in the bookstore?
I haven't taken it. I used to take him into the bookstore as a customer, like before I worked there.
Okay. Okay.
I haven't taken him since I worked there, but
I have this like snapshot in my brain of Hamilton, like looking out like a window of a bookstore. Maybe I just like submerged a bunch of your pictures together in my brain, and I like really want this to be real.
I posted pictures of Ruby, looking out the window of the bookstore, and
that's sweet. So maybe I just like switched out one dog for another in my brain somehow.
They actually just got a puppy too.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry, listeners.
So cute.
We're looking at cute puppy pictures.
A golden and a lab, it looks like a Labrador puppy and a golden retriever. Oh, that's so cute.
Imagine cute dogs in a bookstore, and you've got it.
Yeah, right? It's perfect.
I'm sensing a history of playing things close to the chest or keeping things to yourself. Do you do that intentionally? Just as a safety? I ask that because I do that a little bit too.
Yeah, I guess it's just, it feels safer that way, or just, I don't know, if you say it out loud, it just feels big, and then there's expectations when you say it, and I don't know, then you have to live up to them.
You've committed to something. Yeah, that's exactly my feeling. That's why I asked the question is, I have 100 ideas and only one of them ever gets spoken out loud. Because otherwise, one, I would have to write them, and then two, when I don't end up writing them, I look silly.
Yeah, exactly.
I have way too much excitement and enthusiasm for my for my own stuff to hold anything like too close to the vest. I'm just like, oh, I just thought of this amazing idea. I gotta tell everybody. But I guess on that flip side, if I flood, my friends and family and critique partners and whoever with ideas, they're just like, oh, okay, cool. So
this
like no expectations. I'm going the other route where it's just like so much that like they're just like, okay. But yeah.
What was the switch? And this the sort of mental thing I'm interested in. What was the switch in 2022 that you flipped? Where you started to feel like you had permission to actually do this and actually talk about it and seek it out and actually write?
I think a big part of it was I was on medical leave from teaching, and I had been on medical leave well, actually, I never went back to that first teaching job I was at. So, and that was just like a regular public school teaching job. And I decided after being on medical leave for 4 years, I was like, I guess I'm not going to go back and do that anymore. And story time was always my favorite part of the day, as a student and as a teacher. And I was like, I think I'm not doing anything else right now. Like I've been tutoring, but tutoring did not bring me joy. And I was like, I need to find something that actually brings me joy, and picture books and reading them had brought me joy. And like, maybe I need to actually try this writing thing. And if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But I wanted to start with a class, and like, I am still a part-time teacher right now. I say that I'm a very part-time teacher right now, teach at a school that caters to homeschooled students, which is super cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
But as my writing career is taking off more, and I'm also at the bookstore, I'm teaching less and less too. Mm-hmm. But that, I think it was, I had time. I wasn't doing anything else.
Circumstantial, right? Why not? It's like, it's safe to try.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why so many Kidlit authors started when either and or during COVID, because, you couldn't do a lot of other things. And two, after they had kids, especially moms, not to say, that dads can't stay at home too, but a lot of Kidlit writers are parents, mothers who had kids, and then suddenly we're just at home with this kid all day. And you're like, well, not that you have a ton of time, but you have sort of like this more of a need for another outlet besides, this tiny this tiny being that you're supposed to, keep alive.
Yes.
I think you're right though. Like it all is like you have this time and sort of this motivation to do something more.
Yeah. I think I had wanted to do it before too, and just like didn't know how to find an idea. Like I was like, how do authors get ideas for books? Like, and I had like asked a friend, and he was just like, aren't they about like friendship or like kindness? He was just like throwing like these general themes at me.
That's everybody's friend who doesn't understand picture books.
Right.
And I was like,
Berries
okay,
and turtles. Yeah.
You don't get it.
I was like, not helpful. Okay.
Hey, everybody, let's take a quick break and a pause and a moment to appreciate a couple of different books. We're going to lead with John's review this time, which is as follows. In true patriot love for Canada Day, see what John did there, he's strolling along with Carson as he crosses Canada in the aptly titled picture book CARSON CROSSES CANADA. Feisty Annie and her dog Carson journey from British Columbia to Newfoundland, exploring prairie skies, Quebec pork pies, and all with a sweet surprise at the end. I appreciate the rhyming there, John. Kass Reich's vivid gouache, I always have trouble with that word, vivid gouache art sings alongside Linda Bailey's simple but thoughtful words. John gives this 5 lobster rolls out of 5, and I would love to have 5 lobster rolls right now. Brenna's review for this week has more babies but fewer lobster rolls. Her book is The Baby Who Stayed Awake Forever, which I feel like I've seen all over the place. Baby Who Stayed Awake Forever is by Sandra Salsbury. This funny, vibrantly illustrated picture book is a hilarious take on an old problem, the baby who will just not fall asleep. Follow the supremely patient and exhausted family as they try to get the baby to stop having a dance party, climb out of her crib, and throw every binky in existence at the door. A great read for parents and kids. And my review for the week has neither babies nor, as far as I recall, any mention of Canada whatsoever. It is for Safe Crossing by Ezra Jack Keats Award-winning author Kari Percival, with whom I was not previously familiar before reading this book, which came out this year. When everything going on in the world feels like a constant barrage of chaos and unsolvable problems, Safe Crossing is a breath of fresh air that tells a very specific story about helping animals, nature, being persistent, and working within your community in such a way that clearly outlines how, helping even in small ways is never futile and is always benefits the world we live in. But to me, the story is even more meaningful in the way that it clearly draws a line from problem to solution to positive outcome. And not only that, but it clearly shows the story of how these animals navigate a human-centered environment and how that's an ongoing challenge for those animals that doesn't end just because the book does. This one's really nice, and I suggest that you check it out. Not to mention the glorious and gorgeous artwork throughout this book is just beautiful. Speaking of beautiful things, if you would be so kind, give our website or Linktree a visit and a click. It helps us out in raising awareness of the podcast. So linktree.com/verseshow or verse.show are great places to go to find the rest of our conversations. And also, please, if you have not already done so, or even if you have, do it again. Go and give our podcast a review to help our numbers. And now, with that, I will let you get back to our conversation with Jenna.
My first manuscripts, first ideas were all about my dog, Hamilton. So I had gotten him. I got him in 2018, and I was like, he provides ideas, which I'm sure a lot of parents, I'm not a parent, watch their kids and get ideas from their kids.
Totally.
And I think, and I have to say, he has provided me a lot of ideas. And I don't have a picture book. I don't have a contract for a picture book about him, but I do have a contract, and it should be announced very soon. So it's inspired by him. It's the books of my heart, so I'm so excited about it.
It's called Hamilton, amazing. And you're going to sell a bazillion copies because of the name.
That would be fun. It's not called Hamilton, but that would have been something to think about.
Perhaps discouraged by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Man, I think he would have probably had something to say about it, but
I think he's a pretty chill guy, but unless it's about not throwing away your shot. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. That
Now,
might have been the name inspiration though for my dog. Just a
for
little bit.
sure. Hey, I mean, especially in 2018. But what
Yeah.
I love that.
super
I love that.
cool.
I saw when you announced in the Discord PB workshop that it had
Yeah.
gone through, and I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing!" But I didn't know any of the details, so that's very
Yeah.
exciting. I love that. Congratulations! Because I
Yeah.
mean, there's finally in March, like a lot of movement happening in
There's
there.
so much movement happening in there right now. It's so
Yeah,
exciting to see.
yeah, it's bad. It's really good, especially there. Some manuscripts and some people also, I don't want to spoil anybody's news or throw out any names, but like so people who have been toiling away at this for so long, and just like having
Yeah.
running into so many obstacles, and now all of a sudden it's like, actually this thing I thought that was dead is now like being acquired, and it's just, yeah, it's like, it's really exciting because it's if nothing else, I mean, excited for that person, but also like, oh, that's a reminder, like, these things sort of come in ebbs and flows, and you just have to
Yes.
keep at it. And like, it is brutal across the board. It just is, but you have to keep
Yes.
going. So,
It
anyways,
gives me hope. Like someone had
yeah.
posted, I think today, that their manuscript had sold and it was one they thought had died with their previous agent or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And I think it's some like nature-y story, which I've
Yep.
heard is really hard to sell right now because I have a nature-y story. It's actually the one that the pitch that Christy originally liked on Twitter.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I sent her, like, when she liked that pitch, I then sent her, I think, 2 or 3 more stories via email.
Hmm.
And then we set up the phone call and she signed me. And none of those stories have sold. Like, none of those original stories have sold.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, but that first one that she liked, we sent on sub. And the cool thing about the cat agency, well, first of all, when Christy first liked my pitch, I thought it was a mistake. I was like, Christy McGill from the cat agency? I'm like, that's an illustration agency. Like, she must be like, I'm not an illustrator. Like, this is no. Like, she's
Right.
mistaken.
It was a
And then
butt like,
like
like,
yeah,
like a butt
right.
dial, but she accidentally like opened Twitter and like
Yeah.
liked a bunch of pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my critique partners were like, well, just try anyway. Like, still just send it to her. And then I kind of stalked her on Twitter a little bit. I was like, well, like, let me see, like, who else she's liking. Like, I'm just kind of curious. And I
Yeah.
noticed, like, she was liking other authors. So I was like, oh, interesting. And so I'd message her, and she did say that she, like, yes, Cat Agency is primarily an illustration agency that represents illustrators and author illustrators, but they'd recently brought her on to start building their author list, their literary side. And I was like,
Cool.
ooh, okay, that I could do
Yeah.
that. Like,
There's
Yeah.
a foot in the door.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah. And
Totally.
so I sent her those stories, and I was one of her first clients, which was very exciting. Um, and so that story that we sent out, that still hasn't sold. One cool thing about it is at Cat Agency, we can partner with the illustrators there, and like they can illustrate a spread or 2 spreads, and we can go out on sub together,
Oh,
um,
that's cool.
which is a lot of fun.
That's
Which
so helpful on so many levels. Sorry, Josh, but I'm just thinking about like, especially like very specifically, I'm thinking about like, if you were to write like a graphic novel as an author only, if you can pair with somebody who's like, oh, I see your vision, let's go out with this. I just feel like
Yeah.
that's really helpful because as an author only graphic novel writer, that is a big concern. Like, okay, but what does this look like you're not, like trying to panel it out without illustrations. Anyways, that's amazing. That's really cool.
it is amazing, and it also strikes me as rare. I don't feel like I see a lot of deals, and maybe the intent is not necessarily to sell the author and illustrator as a package, although it would be obviously much easier to do that when you've already got some of the illustrations and vision and thought
Hmm.
process done. But we don't often see that in deals that announce where the author and illustrator are from the same agent or agency.
Yeah. It's something I really enjoy, especially because there's so many talented illustrators at CAT. And I think for the most part, it's received really well from editors. Every now and then we get a response from an editor that will be like, we really like to choose our own illustrators. So we're like, all right, we won't send you another like paired um,
Yeah.
submission. But like a lot of times, um, the only hard part is sometimes we'll get feedback. They're like, oh, we really liked the art, but we didn't like the writing. Or the opposite, the writing's really great, but the art wasn't for us. But we also make it clear in our submission package that it's like, if you don't want us paired together, that's okay too. Like if one really speaks to you and you really want like the writing, but you really didn't like the art and you want to break it up, that's okay.
Yeah.
Except illustrators shouldn't steal your story,
but...
of course. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I've heard that too from author illustrators that like it's, because everyone's like, oh, like, so many agents are looking for author illustrators only. And so it's really hard to get in as a author only picture book writer right now because it just the gap is sort of closed. But, and everyone's like, oh, I wish I could draw, like, I wish I could illustrate, but then I hear from author illustrators who are like, yeah, but, then you sort of, you up the ante, I guess, in either direction, because it's like you can either be that unicorn that everyone is like, oh my God, your stuff is amazing, we want to buy all your books, or, you sort of get a hit here and there, and they're like, oh, we love the art, but we don't like the story. And you're like, great, well now what? Or like, I love this story, but we'd love to pair it with somebody else. And you're like, oh, okay, like I put all this work into it. So like, it's, I feel like there are a ton of perks, and then there's some risk. But I did want to ask also, so do you guys do that with every story, or do you sort of pick and choose and you're like, oh, this one could really use like an extra? Yeah. Okay. She's shaking her head.
We pick and choose.
Okay.
I think it would be, one, it would take a long time to go on submission if we did it with every single story. And so it's easier, like if we just pick and choose, and then, because then everyone just wants their own stories to go on submission. And you do, like, you want to give editors the freedom to use the illustrators they would want to. But that one I just went out, like I did the writing and we just went out like a normal submission. But we just signed the illustrator, and it's a CAT illustrator, so it's from the agency, and it's cool. It's kind of like
coincidence.
A backwards way. It's still from the same agency, so that's fun. That it worked out
cool.
That way.
And also, just before we sort of leave this topic, so what is the strategy for the ones that you do send out with an illustration to sort of like, I don't know, portray it in a better way? And like, which ones are you like, oh no, this one's good? Like, because if I had a choice, I'd be like, yeah, let's pair them all with illustrators, which is, I understand is like ridiculous, but it's just like super fun, right? Like, let's make this come to life first, right?
Yeah.
So what's the strategy? Like, how do you guys talk about that?
Sometimes, I mean, I'm kind of like you, where I'm like, so should we do this one? This one could be really pretty with like,
right?
So a lot of times it's like, I'll ask Christy, I'm like, should this one be with an illustrator? And she'll be like, I think we should just send it out. Or like, she'll ask me like, if I have an illustrator in mind from the CAT agency, and I'll like send her names, and she'll be like, well, like this person isn't available until like many months later, and it's like,
oh, sure.
All right, never mind, like let's just go out and then hope later that, like, hope it gets picked up first of all, and then maybe later down the line. But then like I wrote an early reader, and that one we're like, those are like so hard to sell, and so we're like, that one, why don't we pair with an illustrator so that the editors can see what it will be like. And there's an illustrator at CAT that has experience with early readers. And so we're like, why don't we see if she's available? And she like loved the idea. And so we paired with her, and it's not out yet. She's working on it right now. And she's going to do that. And then I also wrote a wordless picture book. And that we're pairing together because, I mean, it's all the art, right?
Right.
And so that's very going cool. out together.
Did you use art notes for the wordless picture book?
Yes.
Is a joke.
It'd be amazing
Oh,
if you
yeah,
just
no.
submitted a
It's just
blank
like,
page.
no, I'm sure. You know what to do.
It's all vibes.
Yeah, just the
There's
vibes.
some themes.
Yeah.
That's funny. I want to acknowledge, I took this note down to make sure that we dissected this, because I've already asked you about the permission and the waiting, and then you get going in 2022, and then a lot has happened, right? What's behind all of that business? How long did it take you and Christy working together before you feel like you had a rhythm and a submission strategy, and you really made it happen? Because I mean, it's been 3 years, but it's pretty stinking great.
It's a lot.
I mean, I'm very happy. I'm really happy with Christy.
For sure.
I still feel like the business is still very like ebb and flow. When I signed with Christy in November of 2022. And so we waited until January of 2023 to go on sub, which I felt was a smart decision because of the holidays. And now I can't remember when that first sale was made. It was Dancing with Lightning, which has a new title now. I Spark with Lightning. That was the first sale, which that was an interesting sale because that's with Free Spirit. And that was like kind of like a backdoor sale because I had a different book go to acquisitions with Free Spirit, and which ended up not being acquired. But because that book went to acquisitions and it was based on like the main character in that book had epilepsy, they were like, oh, like we're actually starting a new series for kids with disabilities, and it's going to be nonfiction, and we're looking for authors that have lived experiences with disabilities. Do you want to write our epilepsy book? And I was like, I would love to write that book, but it was still like an audition. It wasn't a guarantee. So it was like, why don't you like write the manuscript and then maybe we'll buy it.
That is a similar situation with our mutual critique partner, because that is her first sale also with Free Spirit. And it was a very similar, like, oh, we like this, we're doing this thing, would you please? Because it was, I believe she subbed it as like a nonfiction, and they were like, hey, could you rework this as like more of a like narrative, whatever. And yeah, so that's so interesting. Yes. Okay. So anyways, sorry.
Hey, shout out your mutual critique partner.
No, our mutual critique partner,
our
Elyse.
mutual critique.
Yes, Elyse
okay.
Myers.
Okay. Hi, Elyse.
Yeah. And I've talked to
yeah.
Elyse since she's doing part of that same series. We've talked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So interesting. Anyways, I'm sorry. So that was your first sale, sort of a backdoor thing, and then
that was my first sale. And then 2 weeks later, I feel like I heard about Everybody Move, which that sale took like I posted. This was also a Twitter book. Like I did DV Pit in August, I think, of 2023, and Autumn liked that pitch. And so that was my invitation to submit to Barefoot Books.
Okay, yeah.
And then in August of 2024, she messaged me and she emailed me. And she was like, hi, like, is this still available?
This is so interesting. Okay, so that's roughly 14 months after the submission, right? Is that right? Am I doing so like a year?
Yeah.
So 12 months, because this happened to me too. I had with my old agent, we had submitted to Barefoot. We parted ways. 14 months later, he messages me and it's like, hey, Barefoot Books is taking this manuscript to acquisitions. And I was like, what?
You're like, what is this, Facebook Marketplace?
Yes.
Is this still available? Come on.
Because I was going to ask what your experience was in terms of their acquisition process, but it sounds pretty consistent across the board. They take roughly a year to get back to you. So, anybody listening, like, this is kind of across the board for Barefoot, and it's possible that this is similar for other publishers. So, just don't give out hope, I guess is what I'm saying, because crickets and silence is like so just like hard. It's the worst. It's worse than a pass. But if you're not
Yes.
hearing anything, it could be, that it's still coming. So anyways, just putting it out there. So, okay. So a year later, Barefoot gets back to you. Amazing.
Yeah. And I looped Christy in at this point because I had submitted to them before I had Christy.
Okay,
And I was like, oh, yes, it is still available. And by the way, I have an agent. And they're like, oh, great. Like, let me email her. And then that's when they asked me too, are you interested in it being a sing-along? And I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing.
Who wouldn't
Yes.
be, for sure.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. It's at every stage.
Maddening.
It just takes like so long. Like, wow. Okay. Yeah, because thank you for for being like so transparent about that, because it's, like we said about the Discord announcements, it's like, it's nice to have some hope. And it's also nice when it's like, it seems like an author is all of a sudden just exploding and they've got like, 7 back-to-back deals. And you're like, well, actually, no, like, it was all this build up back here and then, this long process and, lag time. Anyways, it's helpful to know that it's like, it's across the board for everybody, that it takes time. So, so thank you for sharing.
Insert that, the Titanic gif. It's been 84 years.
Yeah.
For the people, Jenna,
people.
what proportion of stuff have you sent out that has not made it?
Oh my gosh.
There's a version of your story that you could tell. You were like, Christy's just really good, and I'm just a really good writer. And every manuscript we've sent out has made it, but
no.
It's a sense of proportion.
No, I feel like the majority of my stuff has not sold. Like those first, especially, I think the first 3 or 4 manuscripts we sent out did not sell, and I was just like, oh no, like, did Christy make a mistake in signing me? Like, oh no.
I feel like that all the time. Yeah, I told my agent recently, I'm like, part of me being so bummed about like passes is, at some point she's going to be like, you're a dud. We got to move on. Like you're done here, And she's, because you feel all this guilt, like, oh my, like, you feel the pressure. Like I want to be able to sell for my agent too, because she's doing all this work. Like, what if I don't sell any books? Yeah.
Yeah. And I still get rejections, like every week. Like we check, Christy sends me the responses she gets on Fridays. And I'm like, well, if I see that email on a Friday, I already know it's going to be like the passes. I'm like, do I want to read it right now? Like,
yeah,
I might save that for later. Like when I can take it.
Yeah.
I appreciate
at 11:30 at night, and it doesn't bother me as much. That's my approach.
Yeah. Like I appreciate that she sends me everything. I like the transparency, but I do I'm like, if I'm not in the mood for it, like I'm just gonna leave it there for right now.
Yeah, I imagine like most agents, it'll be a call if it's the good news, though.
Yeah, it's funny. She's never called me. Like, I feel like we have that option, but it's always been an email.
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Hi, Hamilton.
But it's always like you can tell from the subject line. Like, it's like, congratulations if it's good news.
Congratulations. Here's a whole bunch more passes from this week.
Yeah, right. Way to go.
It's very exciting. And I'm the world's slowest writer, and I'm mull over ideas endlessly. And what I'm gathering that you haven't said explicitly is that when you leaned in, you leaned in hard, and you've produced a lot of work and been really introspective about doing it right and following guidelines and seeing things through. It's just kudos for activating in 2022 and finding this measure of success from your hard work and finding, a niche and a voice and a good partner in Christy. Seems like it's worked out pretty great so far.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. And I mean, I feel like I still have so much imposter syndrome. And I'm still like, what if everything I write, I'm like, oh, is this terrible? Like, especially as I'm revising, and I sense like another draft to my editor. I'm like, is this the worst thing they've ever read? Are they going to cancel the contract? And then what if I never sell anything ever again? Like, that's always a fear. But I mean, this is so much fun. I love it. And I'm so happy that I fell into this and that I get to do this for a living. And I feel like all of my jobs complement each other really well. Like working at the bookstore, writing for children and teaching children, like they're the best. It's the best. I love this.
Yeah. It's communicating stories to people. Yeah, it's a gift in itself, for sure.
Yeah, and so before we let you go, so when are the release dates come? Like, what are we looking forward to? Like, tell us, where to look and like when to watch
a whole bunch of Jenna books for
and
sure.
stuff.
Yeah,
so much. Yeah.
Yeah. So Everybody Move comes out September 9th of this year.
Amazing. Okay.
So very excited. I Spark Like Lightning is early next year. I don't have a month yet or a date, but early next year.
Hi, Hamilton. We're almost done, buddy.
My inspo. You're talking about my series.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was nice to finally chat with you face to face, because we've chatted online before, of course, but this has been really nice, and I'm so glad we got to meet Hamilton too. Yeah, of course.
Made his presence known.
Yes.